Ahsoka! Oh my goodness. It's Ahsoka. Like, it's Ahsoka. Hello, geeks, freaks, and all those unique. This is MC Frodis, and we're talking about The Mandalorian, Chapter 13, The Jedi. So, with this episode, kept on thinking, it's like, okay, so when's the Ahsoka reveal going to happen? When's it going to happen? And boom, gave it to me right up front. Like, Filoni is not even playing around. I think he's smart enough to know that the fans are like, okay, like, Ahsoka's going to appear in Filoni's episode. So he's just going to put it right out on Front Street, just not even play around with it. And I appreciate that. So, in this episode, finally, Mando gets to the planet Corvus and is going to find Ahsoka Tano. And on this planet, there is a magistrate who is in a battle with Ahsoka and tells Mando, kill Ahsoka Tano, and I will give you this Beskar spear. And so the Mandalorian is like, sure, I'll totally do that. I will find Ahsoka Tano. And then he goes out and he finds Ahsoka Tano, and then he finds out a little bit about his son. And then there's a battle, and some interesting reveals happen. So, lots of stuff about this episode. I mean, I was very excited watching this because, of course, it's Ahsoka. I love Ahsoka Tano. Huge fan of both the Clone Wars and Rebels, and Ahsoka is fantastic. So seeing her in live action is just so great. That being said, I'm not sure how I felt about Rosario Dawson playing Ahsoka. Now, I do know that, and I talked last week about the fact that I had issues with Gina Carano. And certainly there have been some allegations against Rosario Dawson, which does take some of the wind out of my sails in terms of liking Rosario Dawson's portrayal of Ahsoka. Just a note, after I recorded this video, I found out that most of the allegations against Rosario Dawson and her family were dropped. The few that remained are actually against Rosario Dawson's mother. We only have, the word of somebody who has now dropped the charges against her, so it's not something that I'm really willing to hold against her in this situation. But even aside from that, I'm not sure about her portrayal of Ahsoka. I know this is an older Ahsoka than we've ever seen before, but not by that much. She's only 5 years older than any version of Ahsoka we've seen. And she just feels so different than Ashley Eckstein's version of Ahsoka that there was just something of a disconnect for me. Maybe it's because doing voice acting and doing live action acting are very different things. Certainly you tend to verbally emote more in a cartoon, just because that's where most of the inflection comes from, because it can be very hard to animate. But I did find Rosario Dawson's portrayal of Ahsoka to be a little flat for me. Maybe this will change if I see her again. But there was just I was not as jazzed about her as some people were. I was jazzed to see Ahsoka in live action, but something was missing for me. And from there, we do get a lot of information about Baby Yoda, who now has a name, who is... And I have to say, I'm disappointed that Ahsoka didn't say Baby Yoda. Now, I get why they didn't, because I know Filoni and Favreau actually didn't like people calling him Baby Yoda. Uh, which honestly, if you didn't like it, you probably should have figured out a way to get a name in there before, like, halfway through season two. uh, but yeah, so they weren't really crazy about the whole Baby Yoda thing. Uh, but I totally could have seen Ahsoka saying that. Though it seems like maybe Ahsoka had known Grogu. I'm going to guess so, because we found out that Baby Yoda, who is named Grogu, um, was a youngling at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant and had several masters. And I'm going to guess the reason why Grogu had several masters is because of the long, infancy. It was kind of like whoever was in charge of the younglings at the time would be in charge of Grogu. And sometimes they would go off and get Padawans or whatever, or they would just, kind of age out of doing that kind of stuff. Because, I mean, he's 50, right? And it's been 25 years since he went into hiding. So, yeah, 25 years he was with the Jedi. So that's a very long time. So, I mean, I'm sure we'll find out more. Oh, just think, could we have a flashback to Order 66? I mean, we've had Order 66 in the Clone Wars, in Revenge of the Sith, in video games. Could we get another flashback to that to find out exactly how Grogu got where he ended up? I could see that happening, honestly. It doesn't have to be a long scene, but I could see that happening at some point. But yeah, so we do get to find out more about Grogu, and he looked so happy when Din called him his name for the first time. Just that little cooing. It's just so cute. And Ahsoka testing him and it not working. And so instead, Mando tests him. And it was such a dad and son playing catch moment. It was so perfectly them playing catch that I knew that would be the reason why Ahsoka would say no. Because obviously, like, Din is Grogu's dad. I'm not really sure how I feel about Ahsoka being so against attachment. Because, one, the fact that this episode was called The Jedi, and Ahsoka had no problem with anybody calling her the Jedi in this episode, does bring up a lot of questions as to what has Ahsoka gone through in the last few years that she should be so accepting of being a Jedi again. Now, I am going to guess, now that Ahsoka has been brought into live action, 100% we are going to see Ahsoka in the Kenobi series. Like, there is no fucking question that Rosario Dawson is going to play Ahsoka in the Kenobi series. But even then, the Kenobi... Well, no. Okay. I'm just trying to work out this timeline. So, the Kenobi series is probably going to take place before Rebels. Because I think they said that Luke was going to be like 10 or something. So, yeah, that is definitely before Rebels. And during Rebels, Ahsoka did not identify as a Jedi. So, we're not going to see Ahsoka learn to accept her Jedi-ness through Obi-Wan. It was definitely something that happened post-Rebels. So, possibly we're talking about during the search for Ezra. Which is another thing that we have to talk about. So, in this episode, there is a fight between Ahsoka and the Magistrate, fighting using the Beskar staff and Ahsoka's lightsabers. And this episode does recanonize that Beskar is impervious to lightsabers, which thumbs up there. But we get the major reveal of Ahsoka has been repeatedly saying, like, where's your master? Where's your master? And I was going through my head, just like, who is Ahsoka talking about? What has happened that there's somebody who's got a master going on? And then the reveal happens. It's like, where's Grand Admiral Thrawn? Boom! So, this is huge. We're going to get Grand Admiral Thrawn in live action. We have to. And I'm going to put this out here now. I've seen, like, some people suggest Benedict Cumberbatch for Grand Admiral Thrawn. No. Give me Lars Mikkelsen. Lars Mikkelsen did such a good job of playing Thrawn in Rebels, and he had such a distinct voice for him that I don't think that you could get anybody else to play him properly. And I think you could make Lars Mikkelsen up to look like Grand Admiral Thrawn just fine. So please get him. And you had Katie Sackhoff, and she was fine. She was perfect for playing Bo-Katan. And I've already been complaining about the fact that Ashley Eckstein did not play Ahsoka. So please, if it possible, please cast the voice actors to play characters. I'll accept somebody else for Ezra because... But... yeah, so we have a mention of Grand Admiral Thrawn. He is back from wherever he was with Ezra. But this means, like, where's Ezra? Where's Ezra? You can't drop that Grand Admiral Thrawn is back without us wondering where Ezra is. And obviously, like... I mean, I feel sorry for anybody who didn't watch the Clone Wars or Rebels. I mean... even the Clone Wars, Rebels even more than the Clone Wars. Because I feel like the Clone Wars, as long as you knew who Ahsoka was, you can kind of get it. It's like, it was the Clone Wars, Anakin had a Padawan. But Rebels, it feels like, was a lot more intricate, which is weird because I see so many people talk about how Rebels was really like a kids series compared to the Clone Wars, which was seemed to be more geared towards teenagers or adults. But the lore and everything for Rebels is just so intricate that I think, like, if I hadn't watched it, I'd be totally confused. But yeah, so Grand Admiral Thrawn is around and Ahsoka's looking for him. And is she looking for Grand Admiral Thrawn because Thrawn has Ezra? Is Ezra with Sabine and Hera and stuff? Are we going to see them? Please tell me we're going to see them because I love those people and I would love to see them again. There was a lot in this episode, and it's funny. Like I mentioned last week, my brother talking about his problem with the show is that Mando goes to a planet, does a thing, and then leaves. And I do understand that criticism. But I feel like this episode, if you are somebody who is familiar with the lore of Star Wars, like the stuff that's not the Skywalker saga, this is an episode that will get you very excited for what is to come. But maybe if you're a bit more casual, you'll be a little more frustrated because, you know, like, you don't understand who Grand Admiral Thrawn is. And yes, most people know who Ahsoka is at this point, but you don't have the same emotional investment in the character. Ahsoka not being big on ties like that. didn't seem to strike me as an Ahsoka thing. It I mean, here's the thing, like, I mean, yes, like, Ahsoka definitely knew that Anakin fell and knew exactly why he fell. But I don't feel like Ahsoka would have blamed that attachment on Anakin's fall. Because Ahsoka obviously had problems with the Jedi Order. That's why she left. Though I feel really weird, like, arguing about this point, because this was written by Dave Filoni, who, it's like, he knows all the things about Ahsoka. So, it's... Oh, fuck. I've never had a problem complaining before, so... But yeah, that I wasn't too sure about, and I feel like Ahsoka probably could have just said, I am not going to train him because, like, he's way too attached to you and it would be way too mentally damaging to him to take him away from you. That's how I would have done it. But yeah, now we're going to be going to, like, some sort of Jedi temple so he can choose his path. And apparently you can renounce being a Jedi. Does that mean, if you renounce being a Jedi, does that mean you lose your Force sensitivity? Can that happen? I feel like that's not a thing you can do. You can just not use the Force. But it's always going to be there. But if he chooses that path, then a Jedi will come. But here's the thing. I don't think a Jedi's going to come. I feel like Mando's stuck with Grogu. And I feel like, maybe he'll train with Ezra eventually. But I think that Mando's always kind of going to be the helicopter parent in the background. It's like, you got it, kid. So, yeah, this episode, a lot of stuff to think about in this episode, and I did like it. But I had some issues with it. I felt the episode itself was just fine, but it's more about the overreaching implications of it. That's kind of what interests me. So tell me down below what you thought of Chapter 13, The Jedi. If you like my videos, I do try to post often with reviews about Star Wars, Star Trek. I do video essays as well. So please subscribe to the channel, like and comment on things. If you want to support me, you can go to my Patreon or you can buy me a coffee. And during the Christmas season, why don't you buy yourself something from my Redbubble or TeePublic? So until next time, live long and may the Force be with you. Thanks to these patrons for keeping the lights on around here. I very much appreciate all of the help from you guys. So if you want to keep watching more of my videos, click on my cartoon face over there and you can go directly to my channel and check things out.